we are live.
Hey everyone, and welcome to our first This is Meetup episode. My name is Sonu Kapoor, and I am here with Ahmed Moustafa. We're both the hosts of the new monthly meetup. We are very excited to start this first episode with Sashikumar on Angular 18. We got some fantastic events lined up for the coming months, complete with exciting giveaways and raffles featuring ebooks and software licenses. Be sure to check out our website for details on how to follow us on X and for the latest updates. Stay tuned and join the fun. Before we get started, why don't we go through some introductions? I'll start. I'm a senior developer with over 2 decades of experience in software development. I'm currently located in Canada, and I'm super excited about this meetup. Ahmed, you want to go next?
Yeah. Thank you, Sono. So, hi everyone. I'm Ahmed Moustafa. I'm a senior full stack engineer. So, working mostly with ASP.NET and Angular. I've been around, since the Angular JS days, which I started my career back in 2009. I also help organize the Franken JS in Nuremberg. It's a community for JavaScript developers. And today I'm very excited to be here as a co organizer and to meet and share with you all of you. So, guys, feel free to drop your questions in the chat anytime. We will answer them during the Q&A session. And let's make this a great event together. And you can also catch up with the organizers on X. Just follow the handles on top of our background. I think it's somewhere here. Can ask us anything. And we can see also next updates and behind the scenes. So now back to you, Sonu.
Perfect. Thank you, Ahmed. So next up we have Sashi. Sashi, how are you doing?
Hey man, I'm doing good. How are you
Great.
guys doing?
We're good. It's awesome to have you here. So tell us a bit about yourself.
So for those who don't know me, like there are very few people. So my name is Sashikumar Yadav. You guys can call me Shashi. I'm a passionate web developer, like with over 6 years of experience in the field of web development and Angular in particular. Okay, because Angular has been my bread and butter like for quite few some time. Okay, so but let me like my journey is not just with Angular, to be honest. It extend beyond just writing coding. Okay, because I truly enjoy teaching and I help other kickstart their web development career. Okay, so in fact, this is what which has motivated me to like start my own YouTube channel where I have a community of over 19,000 plus subscriber. Okay, and on this channel as well as I have a blog website where I try to put all my knowledge, whatever I have, and my experiences with the goal of making this web development to accessible to everyone. And I think this is the whole and solution that I'm here today to share like whatever new things what has been come up in Angular version 18. And to be honest, I'm quite excited about this talk. So I think we can get started, to be honest now. All right, so now maybe let me first share my screen and then maybe we can start things off from there. So let me know, guys, in the comment if you can see my screen. Okay, so it's all right. Let me know if my screen is visible. All right, so now as I told you, right, Angular is changing like quite a lot. Like since last 3-4 versions we saw a lot of new upgrades, and trust me guys, these upgrades are quite good for us as a web developer to use Angular at its best. Okay, so today here we are to talk about this version 18, like what we need, like what you guys need to know. Okay, so before even we start off with this, let's take a look at the agenda of this today's talk, where we are going to discuss about the new dependencies, what is added in Angular. And then we'll take a look about the new CLI changes, the improved developer experiences, what we got with version 18, the router change, the content projection, forms, change detection, stable APIs, and much more. Okay, so this is what we are going to cover in this today's talk. Okay, and before I start with this talk, so again, if you guys want to know more about me, so you can head over to this website shashikumar.dev, and here you can find a lot more about me, like what I do. So basically I'm from India, but I'm currently working in Singapore as a senior full stack developer. And yeah, this is what about me. And you can take a look at my tech stack, whatever I do. All right, so now let's go ahead and talk about the first thing, which are the changes in the dependencies. So now with Angular version 18, we get support for TypeScript 5.4, and now we have Node.js version 22, and this is also we got with your Angular version 18. So these were the first two things what I wanted to talk in the dependency section. Okay, now let's talk about things which got stable from version 18, the stable APIs. Okay, let's discuss them. And two of those APIs are the control flow syntax and the deferrable views. Okay, so let's try to like know about, okay, because this has been already covered in the previous TiL conference what we had, where some of my colleague has taken this in detail, but I'm just trying to give you a glimpse like what is this control flow syntax. So if you take a look at this, right, this control flow syntax where we can make use of @if, which means now we no more need to use the structural directives what Angular has provided, the star ng if and all that. So now we can directly use any conditions by using this syntax like @if, @else if, and else and all that. If you remember, right, if we have to use the if and else condition in the old way, like before Angular 17, we have to use the star ng if, we create the template and then we do the else and all that. But we don't need to do that anymore. So what we can do, we can directly use this new control flow syntax. And these were in developer preview in version 17, and now Angular has made them stable. And what I come to know from the community, that this feature is been widely accepted by a lot of us, a lot of Angular developers, and I see a lot of people are already started using it from version 17, and now they will be doing it with confidence from version 18. So that's what quite exciting, to be honest, for me, because to use this, right, you don't need to import common module inside your component, or you don't need to use ngif or ng4 and all that inside your imports array. So without even importing anything, you can go ahead and use them inside your template. The second thing is the control for which we have the @for. I think this is quite I would say this is quite helpful, to be honest, because what I have observed from star ng for the directive, the structural directive what we used, star ng for, a lot of people were missing to use this track by. But now with this control flow where we use @for, so this is a compulsion now that you have to use this track and you have to provide the unique item over here. So by using this, right, by enabling this, what it will do, it will help you in the performance improvement whenever you want to loop some data, whenever you are looping and displaying some content inside your template. And I think this helps in performance to some extent. Okay, because I know dev can make a mistake and they can forget to add this track by and all that, but with this APIs there is no chance that you can miss that, so you have to add it. And this is quite helping all the developers out there to use such feature and improve their applications performance. The third thing is the controller, which is @switch, and I think this is quite better in term of how it looks like, because for me, right, I was quite confused like how do we actually use ng switch case, because I don't know if you are familiar with the older syntax where ng switch has to be in a square bracket, but the switch cases people make use of the star ng switch case and do all that. But I think it was quite confusing to some people, and that's why they always make use of star ng if and do their job, and nobody was actually using switch case to that extent. But with this control for syntax of switch, I think people cannot they will have to, because this makes things so easy for us to use. You just make use your, I think it's something similar what all the other programming languages provide. So it's something similar what we are doing. You just use @switch, put in your condition and add all your cases when you want to render the content, and this makes your life quite easy. Okay, so this is what we had in the ifs. So now let's talk about the deferrable views. So this also becomes stable from version 18. Okay, so this is what the syntax is. So what you can do, right, you can defer your components loading, And what it does, I think a lot of people are familiar now, because if you have already seen the changes in version 17, so you might know what kind of performance improvement it does. So but let me take a quick glimpse how we can configure it to start using inside your template. So what you can have add the defer, and you can make use of on and when, those kind of things to make use of this to render your components. Okay. And then you have a placeholder. So what this placeholder does, right? So if you want, so whenever the content comes to this, like to this viewport, so you can add a placeholder to add your own content, so that you're not breaking the layout of the component. If you are familiar with the web vitals, right, where we have the common layout shift, the CLS core of a website. So if you want to still maintain that, so I think that's where this placeholder helps you, so that you can have a skeleton kind of template which will not break the layout, or there will be no layout shift and such like that. So this placeholder can help you there. And then we have this loading state. So people are still getting confused, what is different between this placeholder and this loading. So this placeholder is for whenever the content got loaded, so you can add this as a layout. But this loading, right, when this triggers, so whenever the dependencies of this app component is taking time, right, to load. Suppose you have an API call, you have done it, and then it takes time to load it, right? So during that time, if you want to show something, some block of code, so that you can do over here in this loading state. And imagine while loading, something got break. Okay. And then if you just don't want to show something blank on the screen, right? So what you can do at that point of time, this block of template can be rendered, and this can actually tell the user, okay, something got wrong during loading the comment section or something like that. Okay. So let me take a quick demo about it, like what I have. Like I was just playing around with this version 18, so I have this script playground. So if you show, right, if I go on this comment section over here, okay, this is breaking because I have added some changes inside my home. So let me just go ahead and fix that. Okay, so if I go here, I just made some wrong mistake here, which I should not. Okay, let me save the changes. And now what I'll do, I'll just click on this. And if you take a look, right, on the right hand side, I have this scroll bar, and I have a comment section which is below this blog, which means I don't want to show the comment section to the user. So whenever user is coming on this particular page, so this page will load quite faster, because what we are doing, we are trying to defer the loading of that component, right? And the moment I scroll, right, the moment it reaches to the viewport, can you see the scroll bar just went up, and I can see my comment section below. So this is what the benefit of deferred is. Like it helps you to do lazy loading. Like Angular already had lazy loading, but now you can do to some another extent inside the template itself by using this deferred block. And this is what Angular team has made it stable, because this is helping a lot of dev who are using this deferred views from version 17 already. And now you can again develop your things in confidence, because this all become stable from version 18. All right, so if you have any questions, right, regarding to this, so you can anytime go ahead and in the comment section, and you can ask me there, so we can cover that in the last. All right, so now let's talk about the CLI changes what we have. So now we have a new serve command for devs. Okay, so it is for devs, so it has to be something with the devs, right? So now Angular has given us a new command, which is ngdev. And what it does, it just runs the ng serve under the hood for you. Okay, and this is more aligning towards, because of the builder what we are using. Okay, I'll get there what is this builder and all that in the upcoming slides, but yeah, I'll talk about this once I'll explain you the builder thing. But now the moment is that now we can just run your application in the development mode by using this ngdev. Okay, so this is what the new changes of what Angular has provided us in the CLI. So these are the CLI changes. And now talking about the directory, so now we have a new folder structure. Okay, so the moment you do ng new and you create a new application, so this is what the structure you will get from now on. Okay, so now there will be a folder with the name public, and this public will help you to contain all the static files. Okay, so whatever the static storage you have, right, the styles, the images, the fav icons, all of them can be placed inside this public folder. Okay, and if you try to open up your src, so you won't get the asset folder anymore. But just in case you want to have that asset, so thanks to Angular's backward compatibility, you can still have that, but you just need to do few configuration how it was been done in version 17, and you can use that. But I will highly recommend you guys to always go with the changes what Angular provides. I think it's quite better because they're trying to make things better and better for us to develop things with confidence. All right, so now this is the new change what I was talking about, the new directory change. And now the next one what I have for you guys is the Angular's new build system. Okay, so now in Angular we will be having a new builder, and the name of that is Angular/build. Okay, so this new builder, right, this build system is nothing but this is a subset. Okay, so this Angular/build is a subset of the existing builder what Angular have. So the red one what you see here, right, so this is the Angular/devkit/build Angular. Okay, so this is the subset of that, which means to, okay, so let's take it like something like that. So this Angular/devkit builder, right, so how this builder has been made, so this is made up of by using three things. So we have a ES build, we have a Vite, and then we have a Webpack. So imagine these three things are clubbed together. So how big that will be, because the Webpack is quite big, okay? And just to build your Angular applications, you really don't need Webpack because you already have ES build and Vite, which is helping you to bundle your application fast anyway. Okay, so what Angular have did, they have created this small subset, which is this Angular/build. And now on with Angular version 18, your build will be more faster, and your the builder will be quite smaller as well with this Angular/build. Okay, and this is what it does now. So now this ES Angular/build, this guy works with this ES build and Vite, as I have told you. And the only drawback what I have saw, right, the karma. So if you are doing Angular testing quite often, so you know about karma, like what it does. But now to run this karma testing, right, if it is dependent on karma, then this karma requires this Webpack. And don't worry, Angular has provided that. That's why you still have this Angular/devkit. Okay, so this is still there for you if you're using karma for your Angular test cases. But what I will recommend you guys going forward with Angular version 18, I think you guys can start looking out for by using this Angular testing library, which is quite nice what I have observed, because we have already started using this Angular testing library, and I can see it is quite better than what we had already. So I think we should start using with this Angular testing library, and then we don't need to actually include that heavy builder. Okay, so we can make our builder light, and we can still do our job, we can still develop our application. All right, so this is what we had the new changes inside the new build system of Angular. Now talking about the router. So inside the router, Angular has added two new changes. The first one is, right, now we will have a redirect command, and the second thing, we have a functional redirect too. All right, so let's take a look for each of them, like in detail. What is this redirect command? So this is nothing but a new class is added inside this Angular/router, what you see. Okay, and whatever you see here, or the screenshot what I have took, right, so everything is from Angular's official website, which they have made it like now Angular we won't have angular.io. So this is what you have, the playground and everything what they have provided. So this is gonna be the only place where you can get any information about Angular. So I really want to like promote about this, like guys, go ahead and use this angular.dev, which can provide you any information about Angular which you want. Okay, and this I use quite often, to be honest. Suppose I had some doubt about navigation behavior options, so I went here and just searched about it, and I got my information. All right, so yeah, this is highly recommended, guys, for you guys. If you are new to Angular, if you already know Angular, then if you need any information, this is the place. Okay, so this is what I wanted to talk about, the redirect command. Okay, in router, what it does. Okay, so let's try to understand this new class of with an example. Okay, like for example, I have this code snippet in front of me, and I think most of the Angular developer will be quite familiar about it. Okay, so this is nothing but a auth guard what I have created, where I have these two injects, like the auth service and router. Okay, And what I'm doing, right, I'm just checking if the user is logged in, then please return true and allow him the navigation. Okay, but if this is not true, then what I'm doing here, right, I'm trying to send back the user to the login page again. Okay, now the what problem what I have with this one is, right, okay, so this will help me to do it. Okay, so there are two ways actually to do this, right? The first one, people will say, okay, Shashi, go ahead and use router.navigate. Okay, yes, we can do that. And another thing is, which is the router.parse URL, which returns the URL tree for this particular link, what we have here, the path. Okay, so now I have a question for you all actually. So what do you actually use in your application? Is it navigate or is it parse URL? So whatever answer is, so please mention them in the comment. I really wanted to see that, because I will be giving up the answer what will be the best thing to do here, but I really want to see what do you guys think about it. Okay, whenever you're creating a guard and you want to go back to the login page, what method you prefer? Do you prefer with navigate or do you prefer with parse URL? Okay, so now let me talk about why I use your parse URL. So with this parse URL, right, what you do, right, you try to send the URL tree back to the Angular, and then Angular navigates you to this particular path. But with this parse URL, what Angular does, it removes the navigation history, right? Because you are moving outside of the context of the application, like you are no more logged in and you're going out of the context. So whenever there is a case you want to go out of the context, okay, this context word is quite important when you're developing things in micro frontend. Okay, so that's why I am using micro frontend in one of my applications. So I use this word a lot, the context thing. Okay, so you're moving out of the context, so always go with parse URL, so that you can remove all the navigation histories and from the router and all that. Because if you're doing navigation inside the application, so it's always good to go with navigate. So it's fine if you want to do immediate routing and all that. Okay, but this is what you do. Now the problem with this was, what if I want to pass some navigation options? Because this parse URL only accepts a path which is of type string, that's it. Okay, so how I can do that now? So now with this new command of redirect, what I can do, right, now your auth guard, you can return this new redirect command, which accepts two things. Okay, it takes the URL tree which is returned by the parse URL, and then you can pass your navigation options. Okay, and this is what the navigation behavior option what I was talking about. Like for example, if you want to skip the location change, you want to replace the URL, you want to pass some state while going from that one page to another page, so all that you can get now even with the parse URL. But all you need to do is you have to use this new redirect command. Okay, this is what the benefit we get, and this is the change what now like one should do with Angular version 18. You can navigate, you can do redirection in a very smart way with this new redirect command, and this is nothing but coming from this Angular /core, this redirect. Okay, this is nothing but a class, and in this class it accepts two things, as I have told you. Okay, now what are the other use cases, Shashi, like how this thing can help me more? Okay, let's take an example here. Okay, like for example, in this blog website, if I go on the home page, all right, and now if I try to go to some XYZ route, if I click enter, can you see I just came on a 404 error page, like page not found or something like that. But the problem is, right, I want to maintain, I really want to maintain the path of your, like whenever I'm doing something wrong, I really want to see, okay, what was the route which I triggered which caused this page. Okay, which means you want to skip the location change, right? Okay, so how you can do that now, let me tell you. So now suppose for example, to configure such thing, anything related to the routing, you can go in your app config. So now we have this with navigation error handler, right? Okay, so now what you can do, right, in this, so you can actually return this redirect command, correct? And this is what I was talking about. So now you can pass in any of your navigation options from here. So for example, I'm trying to pass a state. Okay, so if anything went wrong, I can pass a state to the data, and this state will have the error during the routing and all that, and I can use this error to display something over here. Okay, what URL caused that issue and all that. But for example, I just want to pass, okay, if I don't want to skip the location, what I can do, I can just say skip location change, and I can make this as true. Okay, So this is what it was missing if you are using parse URL. But now with redirect command, you can add this navigation options, behavior options, right? And now if I go back, okay, and now if I try to do some wrong URL from here, and if I hit enter, can you see I'm still on the same route, but I'm navigated to a different page, which means I can say, okay, this was the URL which caused this particular error, caused this particular page to come appear, okay, something like that. All right. And the good thing, right, if you want to pass the state, that also you can do it from here, as I was doing previously. All right. And with the state, you can do anything you want to do on your page. You can just tell the user, okay, this URL was making the mistakes and whatnot. Okay, but this is what the benefit, what I wanted to demonstrate, like, okay, what else this redirect command can do, and this is one of them. All right, now let's take a look at the second one, which is the redirect function. Okay, so I think most of you are already familiar with this redirect, so let me just directly go to the code snippet and try to show you what is this redirect to. Okay, if you are doing something in routing, you know, right, you suppose you have your path created. I have a auth path, I have a pages, I have error. Okay, but whenever my page is blank, what I'm doing, right, I'm trying to navigate the user to the pages, to this particular path, and with path match full. But now what you can do, right, with this redirect to, this redirect to was previously accepting only string, but now this guy can also accept a function. So that's what it is. So it's a redirect function. Okay, the good thing about this, right, this takes in an optional the activated route snapshot over here, which is of type, this route info is of type activated snapshot. So what you can do, right, you can get the information of your routing from here. Okay, and let's, for an example, if I try to do that, right, so this is what this route info, whatever I put here on line number 10, the console log, as you can see here, which means during the redirect you will be having information about your route. Okay, and all thanks to this new redirect to function. Okay, where you can get access to the params data, the query params during the routing, the fragment, the route config, and whatnot. Okay, so this is what you will be getting with the Angular's new redirect to. Okay, now let's take a like more good example about this. Okay, how this thing can benefit me, Shashi. Let's take a look about it. Like, for example, right, okay, what I will do, right, so if you take a look here, if I try to click on show all, if I click any blog, by the way, guys, this whatever content you see, it's all static content. Okay, this is not coming from API and all that, so this is just static content, but the navigation is all done in Angular, as you can see. So if I click on the blog, right, what it does, it takes me to the detail page, correct? And now suppose if you want to do some validation of this ID, if my ID is number or not and all that, so that you can perform inside that redirect to function. Okay, so again, let me do a quick changes over here. Okay, if I make this, I'm trying to do something wrong, some mistake here, because now this is, the ID is not a number, right, it's going to be a string. Okay, so what you can configure inside your app route, right, so it should be inside the page route. So what I'm doing, right, so this is what it was previously, it was trying to do the redirect to by this. Okay, but now what I'm doing, I'm trying to comment this, and now what this will do, right, so what I can do, I can get access to the route info. Okay, I can check the param, I can directly take this ID and I can do the validation here. If it is not a number, then display an error and make sure the user is not navigating to any other page. It should stay on the home page. Okay, or if everything is correct, then please help him to navigate to the detail page. Correct. Now if I save the changes and if I go back again, if I click on this, can you see now if I try to click this, what it does, right, it still takes me to the home page and it is giving me that particular error that, hey, you cannot, the router error, the invalid blog ID, because the ID is not valid. So this kind of things what you can do now with this redirect to. Okay, so this was the new change what Angular has added, and I think this is going to be quite helpful, to be honest, for such cases. All right, now so let's, if you have any doubt, anything, you can just again use the comment section if you have any queries regarding this feature. Okay, I will be happy to answer all of those. All right, so now let's take a look at another feature what Angular has given us, which is the default ng content. Okay, before starting with this, what this default ng content, first let me first give you the understanding what is ng content is. If I ask anyone here, right, how do you share data from a parent to a child component? So I know a lot of people say quickly, hey, it's at the input, the input decorator, or now the Angular has changed it with the input signal, right? The input query is what Angular has given us. So with input signal, you can do that, right? Sharing of data. What if I tell you, right, I want to share a template from a parent to a child component? So, right, so now people will be confused. Okay, how do I do that? So the answer to that is ng content. Okay, so the ng content is here to help us with that. Okay, so for example, the good example of ng content will be whenever we want to create reusable components, ng content will be definitely used. What I always see. So here I have a quick example where I have a reusable card component on the top, as you see, and inside that I'm using ng content with some selector like select dot title and dot content. These are nothing but my class selector. Okay, and in my parent component I'm using this selector, which is the card app card. Okay, and inside the selector, can you see, this is how you pass a template, this is how you share a template from parent to child. Okay, the important thing is that this class title, right, this is very important, this and this should match. So the slot what you have, right, the class slot what you have, this should match with this. Okay, so this is class, that's why I'm using this dot dot for both of them. Okay, and that's how you share a content, right? And this is how the ng content is there to help us. The moment I use this, right, and this is how the data will look like. So this is my card component where I have a card title and I have a card content. Okay, please don't mind, guys, I know this is not matching with this, but imagine we will have a card content there. Okay, so this is what the layout will look like with this. And now you just go ahead wherever you want to. Suppose you want to create a widgets. Okay, widgets something like this. Okay, so you have all these widgets, right, created widget component where you have a title and footer and all that. So it's one of the example where you can create this reusable card components. Okay, so this is what ng content was. But imagine, right, what happens, someone has removed that particular sharing of the data, the h1 and the content from here. So what will happen, right? So this is how your template will become, and this is what it will make me. It will just make me sad. Okay, so the problem, right, so now I see a problem. So how do we fix this problem? Okay, and let me tell you guys, this was the most requested feature on GitHub for Angular, I guess, if I'm not wrong. This is what I have seen, like heard it from the Angular team, and this is what they are providing with Angular version 18. So now what you can do, right, if user is not providing any template here, so what you can do, you can provide some default content to it. Okay, which means if you take a look at this line number 4 and 5, so now this ng content selector can have some default content in it. So for example, I'm passing some default card title and default card content to it. Okay, and even if my app component is empty, so still what it will do, right, it will going to render that default and default title and default content what user has added. Okay, and this is what this default ng content does. Okay, now most of you will have this question that, Shashi, which means this can be only done after Angular version 18, is that true? The answer to that is no. Okay, let me take a quick example, and this example is already there on my YouTube channel. If you want to know more about this feature, so you can just search for it on YouTube. You will definitely get my video where I'm explaining in detail about this. Okay, so this is the way, or I would say the hack what people used to use. Okay, so if you take a look on the top, so we wrap this ng content inside a div with a template reference variable. And what we do, right, we just make use of if condition and we check if there is no child nodes. Okay, which means there is no ng content, which there is no content for ng content there, which means you have to display this block, which is the default one. Okay, same thing I did for the footer. I'm just wrapping it using the template reference variable, adding the if condition, and then adding my content here. If no content inside this, then display this. Correct? But now you don't need to do all this from version 18. Okay, not required anymore. Now you can make it more simpler by just adding the content inside the selector itself. So imagine now in this head, right, in this head selector, you can add your content here directly. Same thing you can do for your footer as well, and this will do your job. Okay, Now, so this is what the feature what I was talking about, the default content projection, what Angular has shipped from version 18, okay, which is fallback ng content, or you can say default ng content. All right. Again, any questions? Put them in the comment section, guys. All right. Okay, moving forward. Now we have pretty cool changes in the forms. Okay, and that change in the form is the form events. Okay, so now in the form events, what we'll have, right? So now these events, okay, so there are new events which got added, and this were added to notify about the changes in the form control state. Okay, so whenever there is change, okay, so let's take an example first. Okay, so now example, we have a login component and we have two form controls, username and password. Okay, so these are my form controls with this empty state. Okay, and now I'm using int in the ng on it. So now these events are nothing but part of your form control. Okay, so I have this now I can access. So moment you do this your form control dot events, so you will be able to get these events. Okay, and these events are nothing but these are stream of the control events. Okay, which means if it is an observable, when I say stream means an observable, it's an observable stream of control events, which means this can be subscribed, right? If these are observable, so you can say dot subscribe, and in that you can pass your subscriber function. Okay, which means in this subscriber function, right, here you can get access to the events, something like this. Okay, so I'm just targeting the username at the moment. Okay, so in this username, right, that's what you can access. So you have this username dot events dot subscribe, and the moment you do subscribe, this is what the event, right? So this inside the success callback, what you can do, you can access these events. What you see here, right? So now we have this 6 events. Okay, you can just read it out here. So we have this touch change event, pristine change, value change, status change, form reset, form submit. Okay, what it was previously, all this change, right, these were part of a separate subscribe, like separate observable stream. Okay, but now what Angular has did, right, so now they have combined all of them into a single event, and that you can subscribe and then you can use them in such a way. Okay, so this is how the full code looks like, because this whatever you see the instance of, right, this all are coming from your Angular slash form. So all these classes, right, these are part of your Angular slash form, which you can import and you can start using them. Okay, so the moment you do write dot event dot subscribe, which means whatever happens inside your form, right, so suppose somebody touched your form, so this will trigger. Okay, if somebody changes the state of your, if somebody makes a form dirty or something like that, so this will be triggered, the pristine will be triggered. Okay, so we'll take a look at it in the last, so what all these events are actually doing in detail. Okay, so we have a table prepared for it where we can discuss all of them, like what are the trigger points for all of this event. But this is what the change Angular has shipped with version 18, where you get access to this event stream and you can play around with this. Okay, people can have like, Shashi, this will blow up our code, this thing makes things more imperative and all that. See, you can encapsulate into a separate utility function or something like that, right? So you can just make that and you can make things more declarative. Okay, but it's all up to the use cases, how you want to use it and whatnot in your project. All right, now, but Shashi, this is in form control, right? How about the form group? So this event property, right, this is inherited by form control from the abstract control. Confusing, right? Let's take an example in terms of graphical representation. So this event is part of this form control, which is coming from this abstract control. Okay, and this is inheriting this abstract control, and the form group as well inherit this particular abstract control, which means that if form control can use this event, then this form group can also use these events. Okay, so based on all of my statements, what you can do, right, you can actually use this new events on a form group as well. Okay, so now what I did in this new code change, so now I'm grouping my form control inside the form group. All right, and in this form group, right, as you can see here, now I have this login form, and this login form can access these events. Okay, the stream of the custom stream of the form state, the control state. Okay, and then you can subscribe them and then you can do your things, okay, whenever whatever happens to the form state and whatnot. Okay, and this is what the new change what Angular has shipped. All right, now let's take a closer look at when these events get triggered. So as you see, right, we have this 6 new events added, right? These classes got added. Okay, so this touch change happens whenever the form loses the focus. Okay, so whenever you touch the form, right, so that it will lose the focus and it will trigger the event. Same thing for the pristine, right? So pristine change event triggers whenever the initial state changes, right? So if you start typing anything in the form, the state will change, and this thing will get triggered. This pristine change event will trigger. So the status change is nothing but it triggers every time the value changes. Like for example, this guy only indicates the validation state. Like for example, your form state could be pending, then it becomes invalid, it becomes valid. Okay, so whenever these kind of changes are happening, this status change will be called. Okay, value change, form reset, and form submit, these are all quite self-explanatory based on their name. So whenever there is any change in the value, this will trigger every time the value changes. This will be triggered whenever you reset the form, correct, and then this will be triggered when you submit a form. Okay, so all of this got available from version 18. Okay, and I'm actually using all of them, and guys, this is actually helping me a lot to make my reactive form actually more reactive. Okay, so I think you guys should start using it. And again, if you have any challenges or anything, you guys can connect with us on Twitter, on LinkedIn, or anywhere. If you have any queries, I think I will be there to help you guys there. All right, so this is what you have in terms of this form events. Now, the most awaited one, and I think I'm more excited about, was the change detection. Okay, the change detection in Angular, I think it is the hot topic since, I don't know, like when I started Angular right back in 2018. I'm hearing this since then, like we have Zone.js to do change detections. Some people say, I don't know why this Zone.js is there, it is not helping me, the debugging is quite tough with this Zone.js. I heard a lot of this kind of discussion since then, like 2018. And I think now it's the time when Angular has shipped something called as zoneless change detection. Okay, now, okay, so what is this zoneless? Which means now Angular can schedule a change detection by itself, which is quite good. Okay, Angular has added a new scheduler to its framework, which is called the change detection scheduler. Okay, let's take a look at this change detection scheduler, like when this scheduler is detecting the change and all that. So okay, but before that, as you know, right, this is what Angular was with Zone.js, and now with version 18 we don't need it anymore. Okay, so that's what it is. So now Angular can do its job by its own without any library like Zone.js. Okay, because you know that Zone.js is just there to do the monkey patching based on the browser events, the set timeout, and all that, the asynchronous operation what happens right in your code. The Zone.js was there to help you to do the patching and trigger the change detection. Okay, but now we don't need it anymore. Okay, with Angular version 18. Okay, so these are the few points, like, okay, so whenever this 5 event happens, right, this new change detection scheduler will trigger the change detection. Okay, so let's try to like know all of them. Like the first one is whenever there is a template or a host listener event is triggered, right, so the change detection will happen. Okay, the second thing is when there is a view is attached or deleted. You remember, right, we can create our own view by using the container ref and all that. So whenever things like that happens, this change detection will trigger. So again, this one everyone knows. So whenever the async pipe receives a new value, the CD will happen. When we explicitly call this mark for check, right, we have this change detection ref dot mark for check. When we call this function explicitly inside a function, then whenever that function executes, and if this is called, then the change detection will again trigger based on that. Okay, I think I mostly try to avoid, when like as much as I can, to not use it, because you don't need to add the change detection explicitly. Okay, and now the last one is the value of signal changes. So whenever there is change of value in signals, the change detection will happen. Okay, if you guys are not aware of signals was released back in 2000, like not 2000, it was released in version 16. Okay, and I think this is one of the best change out there, which is helping us to get rid of this zone.js. Okay, But still there can be people, right, who don't want to go with this change detection because they already have a big code base which was written back in with zone.js, and they cannot just directly transition to um, the zoneless and all that, right? Still, if you want to opt out, right, if your Angular version is on version 18 and you want to opt out still with this new scheduler, still you can do that. Okay, and that is possible by adding something in your config file, which is the app.config.ts file, where you just provide zone change detection, and you just have to say ignore change detection outside zone, just make it true. And what it will do, right, this will restore the behavior of your Angular before version 18. So how it was in version before version 18, right, it will work like that, which means this is going to ignore the new scheduler notifications what Angular has shipped with version 18. Okay, but you should actually go and try this experimental zoneless change detection, because what I feel this is going to be the future of Angular, where Angular is leading towards. Okay, so that's what I see the graph of Angular now with this experimental zoneless change detection and all that. Okay, so let's talk more about now the experimental zoneless change detection. Okay, so to enable this right in your project, so there is a reason why it has been experimental written there, because this is just into an experimental stage with version 18, where you can actually go ahead and try to use it with your applications and do whatnot. But let me give an example, right? This one is one of my blog website, which is letsprogram.in, and this is on version 18, and this website works fine. You guys can test it also if you want. This is completely zoneless, so this doesn't use zone.js anymore. Okay, and this thing still works as it was working before. Okay, everything works like charm. And I was just trying it, that experimental zoneless, and I think I was able to do it because I was using all the signal primitives, and the on push things was already there, how I used to develop my things. Okay, that's why. But I think you guys should go ahead and try this. That's why I'm trying to recommend you guys go ahead and just give it a try and start using this, like this new feature what Angular has provided. Okay, so the moment you add this, right, provide experimental zoneless change detection, what you can do, the next thing, you can remove the zone.js from the polyfills in your angular.json file. So if you go inside your angular.json file, if you create a new application, you will still have this zone.js. But if you're using this, you are happy, or you are allowed to remove this zone.js, okay, from it. Okay, so what I did some experiment while developing that application, and this is what my bundle size was. The initial size was 135.23, and okay, thanks to this polyfills, what you see on the top, which is my zone.js, it is of size 88.10. But the moment I removed that, right, my build was quite better. Like it helped, it improved one third. Like now, you see the size, right, it's just 47.20, and I don't see any polyfills.js anymore. Okay, and this is what the initial benefit what I got when I started things with the experimental zoneless change detection. Okay, now I think I have already talked a lot about zoneless and all that, so let's take a quick demo where I will be demonstrating about, okay, what is this change detection with and without zone and all that. Okay, let me head over to this website where I have this section where you can see this zoneless thing. Okay, so here I have three counters. The counter 1, 2, which is increment. I have an interval, and then I have a set timeout. Okay, so if you take a look at this, so this works. Okay, this is working. And what this interval will do, if you click on this start, it will do the counting 1, 2, 3, and that's how it works. And the third one is nothing but the set timeout. So the moment I click on start, what it will do, it will increment it after 1 second. Again, if I click on start, it will take 1 second and it will update. Okay, now I have to do some changes inside my app.config file. Let's take a look in my app.config.ts file. Okay, and if I scroll down, right, as you can see, I have here few commented code and something is already there on the top. Okay, so there are three things here. So first one is the provide zone change detection, which is what I told outside, which means if you add this, so it will still use zone.js, and it will work as before Angular version 18. Okay, then we have one more, which is again provide zone change detection. I think this also needs zone.js, but this guy is quite smart enough to trigger the change detection. Okay, so that's what they have. Event coalescing, this helps in that. Okay, to schedule the change detection in quite better way. You can read all this documentation here. Okay, if you hover on this, you can just find more information about it, and you can also go ahead and angular.dev to know more about this. Okay, so this is what it is working at the moment without doing anything. But what I'm interested in, right, I have to remove this, and I have to use the experimental zoneless change detection. If I save it, right, okay, so what you will observe, right, there is some warning below. So what it tells, right, now the application is using zoneless change detection, but I still have a zone.js, so it is telling me to just consider removing the zone.js. So this is what it is trying, helping me to say that, hey, you can go ahead and remove it. So when you see in the polyfills, I have the zone.js, so I'm allowed to remove this now. That's what the warning is all about. But it's okay, even if it is there, it's not bothering me. We are still using the zoneless. Okay, so now what I will do, right, I will try to demonstrate the same thing what I did. So if I click on increment, okay, it works. Decrement, yeah, it still works. Now let's take a look at this counter too. So if I click on this start, nothing happens. I don't know why. Okay, so this is what you will hear. If you remove zone, my app is not working anymore. That's what you will hear from a lot of people, right? Now, if I click on against any of the buttons, right, any of the events inside the template, can you see the number got changed to 17? But the expectation, what it should do, one, like the incremental way, 1, 2, 3, 4, and all that, it should show me the state here. And same thing for this counter set timeout. If I click on this start, ideally it should have changed to 1 after 1 second. Again, if I click on start, it got changed to 1, but ideally it should change to 2 now, but it is not happening. Nothing is working as expected. Again, if I just look at this 34 now, what will happen? If I click on this plus, now it become 45. So what is happening, right, behind the scene, this increment, this interval is actually running. So this is actually increasing the count to like the way it was doing previously. But the only problem is the update in the template is not happening, because now we are not able to trigger the change detection. Okay, so just to prove it, right, you can I'll just go ahead and use this Angular developer tool, right? We have this the Chrome extension. So in the profiler, what you can do, right, you can just check when the change detection happens. Can you see? If I click on this button, can you see there is one change detection happened here? Okay, again, if I click, something is happening, right? But ideally, right, this should always trigger it after every 1 second, but it is not happening. So how can we fix this if we are using experimental zoneless change detection? So the first thing, right, the first tip what I will give you, right, start using signals primitives. Okay, so this is what the code looks like, right? What I have like right now, we have this count 1, 2, 3. I have this interval ID, the increment which will increase, decrement, the set interval, like every 1 second this will be called. Then I have this to stop the interval. Then I have this start timeout to increment it after 1 second and all that. Okay, so what you need to do, right, you need to start removing this, and you have to change everything to signal. Okay, so now I'm trying to make use of signal primitive. So this is what change is required now. Okay, let me do it for all of them. And yep, the moment you use signal, then what you have to do, you cannot just do like that. So you have a method which will help you to update the state. So here I want to update the value with +1. For decrement, I'll do something similar. Okay, so I'll say update with the value -1. This one again will be something similar, which will be dot update with +1. And same thing for this count 3. Okay, so the moment I did that, right, so now what I have to do, I have to make some changes over here as well, because these are signals, so you just cannot call it like that. It has to be like a function. Okay, and the moment I start using signal in my application, and now you will take a look here. So if I go here again, so okay, this is also a new change, but maybe we can discuss it later in the last. Okay, now if I click on this, and if I click on this increment, okay, it is happening, the CD is happening. If I click on this set timeout, if I click on start, after 1 second it is updating, correct? If I again click on start, it updates. Can you see? The first hit is for the button click, and the second hit is for the set timeout when the signal is updating, correct? So if you take a look at this, right, my signal is getting updated. Okay, if there is any change in the signal, the change detection, the new Angular's new change detection will trigger. If you remember this slide, right, what I was showing, the point what I had, over here, when the value of signal changes, the change detection scheduler notifies the Angular to do the change detection. Correct? And the template one, if you click the button, if event happens, again it triggers, something like that, right? So that's what it is doing. And now let's take a look at this interval now. If I click on this start, see what will happen. Can you see? Now it is working as expected. So the moment if I remove the zone.js, still my change detection is happening. Right? Can you see the CDR is help, and why it is triggering the change detection triggering? It's all because my count to is a signal primitive now. So I'm trying to do the update, and that's how it is doing the increment. The moment your signal gets update, it will trigger the change detection. Okay, and this is what I had in front of you as a demo, where this is a very small application, to be honest, to demonstrate about that, but I'm pretty confident about this feature because of my application here, what you see, because I have tested it in and out, and everything is still working out of the box. Okay, every event is working, everything is working as expected, how it was previously. Okay, so that's why I'm pretty confident with this new experimental zoneless change detection. But yeah, it does everything how it was been doing previously. Okay, and this is what we had today for this change detection thing. Okay, so this was the quick demo what we had, but we are still not ending. Okay, there are, because Angular is not gonna stop, so do I, so I still don't have to stop, man. So there are a few more upcoming features which will be shipped with the minor version of Angular with 18.1 or 18.2, and that is the template local variable now, which we can use with @let. Okay, so now we can declare some variables inside your HTML as well, like something like that, right? We used to do previously, right? So we have this user async, so you can store them inside like that, and then you can use them in your application. So now this will be provided again, so you just have to make sure you are not abusing it. Just use, because I know, just don't have it like @let everywhere in your template. It's not recommended. But if there is some scenario like this, right, where you're using async pipe, or you're trying to convert your signal into a particular variable, I think that will be a better use case to do that, and which you can play around with this @let, which will be shipped very soon by Angular team, okay, in the upcoming minor versions. Okay, and also there is new change in the signal update. So now you can update your signal directly inside the template. Okay, like few days back I was having a talk with one of the Angular developer out there, and I was saying I was actually using this feature directly in the template, and I was confused why is it not working. And then later I got to know that this feature is still not there in Angular, because I was trying to do something in the template itself, and I was like, why is it not working? Then I got to know this is still not shipped by Angular team, and this will be shipped very soon by them, where you can actually do the update of signal inside the template itself. Like for example, you have a toggle thing to do, right, like dark mode and light mode and all that, if you're doing, right, something like that I have here. So this toggling things, that you can directly do that in the template if you want to update your signal, so you can do that. Okay, and this is what you will be getting in the upcoming feature of Angular. And that's about it for today. Okay, so, and if you want to, like, if you want to know more about it, so this is what you say, like what in front of you. I have a channel, you can follow me on GitHub, you can follow me on Twitter. This is my portfolio website. If you need any info, if you want to connect with me, all my handles is already mentioned there, so you can connect with me, and we can still have a lot of talk around this new changes in Angular or any other tech stack what you want. Because if you want to ask me anything about it, I think it's all there. Can ask me about Angular, C#, TypeScript, JavaScript, .NET, React. I'm there for you guys if you need anything. And yeah, guys, that's about it from this today's talk. I hope you guys have found it quite informative and helpful going forward to develop things, okay, with Angular with confidence, what I can say. All right, guys, so over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Sashi. So we have some questions. I think Sonu, you can ask the questions now.
Yeah, I have a question from Ron here. He's wondering why would we use parse URL over create URL tree as a return value from the guard?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so as I was mentioning them, right, the best way to do the navigation, because if you're doing navigation inside your application itself, so you are inside the application context. So if you want to do anything quick navigation, .navigate is quite better to go with. But imagine, right, you are trying to send the user back, because navigate always maintains the navigation history. Okay, but with parse URL, what it does, right, it somehow returns the new URL tree, and it resets your navigation history, what you have in Angular router. Okay, so that's what it does. So it's always a recommended way to, if you're making an auth guard and you want to go outside of your application context so that user is not logged in, it's always recommended to go with the sparse URL. And yeah, that's what it is. And to be
Got
honest,
it.
why I have this information, it's all because where we have MFE, we are using micro front ends, and where you have the different contexts, where you like, there can be a different MFE when you're trying to navigate to it. Then you have to reset the context during the navigation, and during the authentication of each MFE, you have to make sure that you don't maintain the navigation history. And that's where we are using this quite heavily, this parse URL. And for people like us, I think it's gonna be one of the best feature what Angular has given to us with this new redirect. Now we can redirect them quite in a very efficient way by passing some more navigation constants or passing some state or something like that during the navigation. So yeah, I think that was missed in parse URL, but Angular now have this new redirect. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So Susan had another question about the with navigation error handler. Is that new? Did that exist before, or is that a new feature in Angular 18?
If I'm not wrong, it was there before, in version 16 or 17. It was still there, because I remember when we were on Angular version 17, when we were developing. Currently, our project is on version 18. So back in version 17, we were using that. I think it was there before. Once we have started using the providers array, right, with app.config.ts, it was still there. It was still there.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all the questions I had. Ahmed, you want to take over?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, thank you very much. So Sashi, this was really helping us, and very interesting talk. So we like it. So as we wrap up today's event, so we want to extend a huge thank you to all of you who joined us, and to Sashi also. The energy was really nice, and participation have made the gathering truly special for us. And remember, we've got some exciting events coming up in the next few months. So including fantastic giveaways and raffles. We have some ebooks and software license that we're trying to get for you guys. So don't miss this out. You can check out the websites and follow us on X for the latest updates. And now back to you, Sonu.
Yeah, also feel free to connect, with the organizers on X. We would love to keep the conversation going and hear your feedback. And again, if you missed anything, we are going to upload this video on YouTube, so keep an eye out of the link.
Ahmed,
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I can hear Sonu, yes.
I think I cannot hear, I guess. Somehow, I don't know.
Okay. So yeah, don't forget to send us your questions or any follow-up questions that you may have. And thanks again. We look forward to seeing you in our future events.
Thank you very much, everybody, and see you soon.